99 Network. Unreal. This is Grandpa Ken, and I want to explain a few things about the Podcast 99 Network. Hi, I'm Grandpa Ken. Welcome to the Grandpa Ken Show. I just wanted to do a little bit on Podcast 99, and the reason why I wanted to do this is because it's just that I have a show on there. It's just the popularity of that show is starting to really get going, and I listen religiously because of the fact that I really enjoy what they do. It started with good old Dave wanting to do a show on politics, and it was pitched years ago to, the network that he worked with before, and they apparently, blew it off, which I think it was a huge mistake. Some people in radio today, they just don't get it. They don't get the future. And podcasting is the future. And the reason being is because radio programs can only reach so far. Unless you're on a nationwide network, they only go so far. And nowadays, if you listen to people's radios and you tune in when you get into people's cars, they're running the internet. It's crazy. The internet, or they're listening to their downloaded programs. It's insane. Rather than tuning into your local station, people are doing that instead. You can even pull up in traffic and you listen to these people listening to their podcasts and stuff. It's absolutely fascinating. And I never thought it would get that big myself, but it actually has gotten huge. So when Dave opened up Podcast 99, came up with the idea and then put it to life, it actually started off as something that I thought, wow, I'll give it a shot. I'll listen to it. And I started listening to it, and it was actually a wonderful takeoff of the show that he had on radio. But it had more substance, it had more character, more in-depthness, and it wasn't regulated. That was the best thing about his show. His show actually has so much in-depthness, it was just incredible. But because radio has so many different editors, so many different bosses, and so many different regulations, that you can't do and say certain things on the radio unless you're Sean Hannity or you're, which his show is, it's crap. And Rush, if you're Rush Limbaugh, he could do what he wants and he still can't cuss or nothing like that. But his show still has substance. I still listen to him. And there's people like Mark Levin that has turned to their own programming, which Levin TV has taken off. But I'm not here to promote that. I'm here to talk about why I listen to Podcast 99. Well, when it comes to the Constitution, I'm really interested in it, and everybody in the country should be interested in it. And Dave does a wonderful, wonderful program called Constitution Thursday. You ever been interested in a TV program to the point that where at the end of that one segment, you just can't wait until next week when you get to see it again? That's the way Constitution Thursday is. Dave does such a fantastic job of doing Constitution Thursday, that you can't wait till next Thursday. And you get so much out of it. It's not like when you went to school and you got bored and the teacher just went on with the same old, junky information that really wasn't up to date and wasn't correct. And I found that out by listening to Dave's version of Constitution Thursday. And it's not Dave's version. What it is Dave is taking the actual Constitution and the actual events that happened during the writing of the Constitution, before, during, and after, and making it into a program which is so fascinating. He takes you back into time. It's like you're in a time capsule, and you're listening to this just totally fascinated. I invite you to join him on Constitution Thursday, and I guarantee you'll be hooked. It's just, for an old man like me, it's to find new things like that is just awesome. And I invited my grandkids to listen to it, and I figured, well, they'll listen to 5 minutes of it, and then they'll be out playing. I was shocked. My 6-year-old and my 10-year-old, they were actually really interested in listening to it. It was a really awesome thing that they were interested in something like that. They told me flat out that there was more information in Constitution Thursday than they were getting at school. They had no idea of some of these things, and they covered it in school, but they did not know the in-depthness that Dave brings into it and the interesting parts of it. It was just awesome. And then Dave also has this thing called Plausibly Live. It's about current events. It's about things, politics, things that happen in your cities, things that happen pretty much in the city of Modesto and California in general. But there are a lot of national things that get brought up too. He's a very good commentator, brings things into depth, thinks, rethinks, and then rethinks again before he actually broadcasts. And if you listen to Dave long enough, you'll get hooked, and you'll want daily programming, which, in today's world, it just can't happen anymore because it takes a lot to do a program. I actually have a show called The Grandpa Ken Show, and because of there's so much to do, backgrounds and stuff like that, I have a lot of work that I got to get done on top of that. Plus, I keep care of my grandkids, and I do a lot of charity work, so I can't keep up with the show as much as I'd like to. But listening to what Dave does is just awesome. Now, there is a show on there that I have to boast about, and I love this show. The Ale Evangelist. These are two guys that just are so funny. And on top of that, I never thought that beer could have an interesting aspect to it, because when you think of beer, you go to the store, you buy a beer, you drink it, and you get drunk, and the next thing you know, you fall on your face, and you wake up the next day, and you're going, wow, that was fun. So, listening to these guys, you get an actual feel, and you get the actual knowledge of how beer is actually made, the tasting, and the differences of each beer. It's just a fascinating show. I thought it was funny in the beginning, but I actually got a lot of knowledge out of the different beers, and they gave a lot of different heads up on different beers. What ones are really crappy, which they were right, and then some that were really good. And they turned me on, said, I'm not a big drinker, definitely not a big drinker, especially at my age. I just can't handle it no more. But I like to sit down every now and then and have a nice cocktail every now and then, or a good beer, especially when it's really hot outside. And they've turned me on to some really good beers, and they were right spot on when it comes to the right beers. And I venture you to go to Podcast99 Network and listen to the Ale Evangelist show. You'll get a kick out of them. Those two guys are just awesomely funny. And then on top of that, you've got the Bite Master. I really wish this young man would do so many more bites, because listening to some of his stuff that he's already done, it takes me into a world that I never thought about. Things that he brings up, subjects that he brings up, and the logic behind them. It's fascinating. He doesn't do enough of them, but when he does start doing them, as you can see, my wife passed by behind me. But anyway, when he does do them, they're absolutely fascinating. And then you have Eric Wallace Show. And you also have Lawless Chat. These guys are really good when it comes to Lawless Chat. All you got to do is send them subjects, and they'll cover it. They're really good at it. It's I used to listen to Bill Handel on the Bill Handel Show, but God, he's gotten to be ridiculous. It's all about ratings for him nowadays. It's junk radios as far as I'm concerned. He's just totally belligerent nowadays. But I guess that's what get ratings. It's if you're not like Donald Trump, you're never going to get any ratings. So that's what Bill Handel has done. So I don't listen to him anymore, and I venture you not. I'm not telling you not to listen to him, but I'm telling you to give Podcast99 Network a chance and listen to Lawless Chat. They will direct you in a honest, good, non-derogatory, sensible chat. They really are good. And then you got the real estate doctors. You got Wendy, which she's really good, because let me tell you something. When you buy a house, when I bought my first house, I had no idea what I was getting into. It was really frustrating, and it was so much stuff, so many hoops to go through. If I actually got into a real estate agent, and got the knowledge of what I was going to get into, I would have hired somebody like Wendy, to get my papers and affairs in order first, and to give me the first-hand knowledge of doing it, because Wendy really knocks it out of the park when it comes to doing real estate. And it's not just Wendy; it's called the Real Estate Doctors, because she does have a partner doing this. So, and it really works out good. The shows are really good. So that is the Podcast 99 Network family, including me, Grandpa Ken, and also Grandma Lou too. She's on there too, along with me. But the other thing is if you want to open a program on the Podcast 99, all you got to do is pitch a thing to a story or something like that to Dave, and he'll think about it. If it fits in with the family that's already there, he'll do it. I'm sure he's looking for a liberal agenda guy right now anyway, and it's not going to knock him. It's not about knocking each person, because I'm an independent. I see things on both sides. And sometimes, I don't agree with Dave. Sometimes Dave doesn't agree with me. But it's okay, because we're a family on Podcast 99 Network. We are there to agree and disagree. And it's okay. And Dave's so good about that. But he's looking for a liberal person to open a show on there, and they're welcomed. I would even be welcome to, have a discussion with them. I mean, I love people on both sides. I talk daily to people, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, green people, all kinds of different people when I go to the coffee shops. That's my thing. I go to the coffee shops and I talk to all different kinds of people from different parties. And I gain more knowledge that way than I do than sticking with one party. It's a better way to live, and a much more knowledgeable way to live. So if you're within that realms of liberal thinking, Green Party thinking, anything like that, pitch something to Dave. I urge you to. And Dave will really consider it. And maybe you'll get a show on there. I hope you do. But listen on to the Podcast 99 Network and listen to all the wonderful shows on there. I'm sure you'll get a blast, just like I do, of all the shows. A lot of knowledge. And by the end of your day, after listening to all of those shows, you'll be pleasantly surprised and at ease of how wonderful the programming is on Podcast 99. With that, this is Grandpa Ken. I thank you for listening, and y'all have a wonderful day. Bye. Bye-bye.